Welcome to Secrets Out Idaho. Each week, we let you in on the secrets of Southern Idaho and speak to the people who make it such a unique hidden gem. I'm your host, Connie Stouffer. On this week's episode, we'll hear how a passion for helping others brought local business leader, community service advocate, and life of the party, Mark Hansen, back to Twin Falls, Idaho. He'll share his favorite events, ways to give back, and places to explore, with plenty of great places to eat along the way. Mark Hansen, thank you so much for joining me on the show. I'm really excited to talk to you and to learn more about who you are and what you do.
Well, thank you, Connie. I'm a huge fan of the podcast. I'm a subscriber, and I can't say I've listened to every single episode, but I'm pretty close. There's lots of gems in there. So thank you for having me. It's going to be fun.
Of course, I'm so excited. So I'm going to just start by having you tell me a little bit about yourself. And I know we know each other through the Magic Valley leadership, but I'm going to have you just tell me a little bit about yourself anyways for the people who may not know you.
Yeah, perfect. So my name is S. Mark Hansen Jr., and I'm actually the third Mark Hansen in my family.
Oh.
So I got to deal with that growing up, which is cool. But I was born in Salt Lake City, Utah. And, my parents were divorced when I was really young. I have no memories of them together. And so I had that, co-parenting. They did a really great job, but lots of step parents along the way, and did most of my schooling in Utah. But I spent all my summers in Idaho on a family ranch up in Fairfield, and 3,200 acres up there.
Wow.
And I got my first stitches as a baby at 3 years old on concrete steps at the ranch in Fairfield. And they took me to Gooding to get stitches and had to put me in a straitjacket.
It's left its mark on you.
Strong, wiry kid that I got out of the straitjacket, and it was quite the ordeal. But my roots are in Idaho, are longstanding, and it's home for me. I've been here for a long time. So. Other than that, I'm married to my best friend, Deborah, and she has 2 adult children, and we have 4 amazing grandchildren. So when we got married 2 years ago, I was an instant grandpa, which is kind of cool. And I have 3 teenage daughters, and they live with their mother in North LA, the Granada Hills area. Mm-hmm. So you're pretty busy. I do stay busy. Yeah. I like some downtime, but I don't get a lot of it.
Right. Yeah. So one of the things I first learned about you when we met through leadership is you took on the Festival of Giving. So you want to share a little bit about what that is, how you got involved in it, and why people should watch for it. I know it's summertime now, but it's never too early to think about Christmas.
Yeah, and it's never, too early to start planning for that event. It really has grown into about 10 months of planning to pull that off. So the Magic Valley Festival of Giving was started 8 years ago, and it was modeled after the very successful and very well-known Festival of Trees, and with one twist, and that twist is the creator of Festival of Giving wanted to make sure that all of the funds stayed local, and that it, rather than just supporting one nonprofit, it supported many nonprofits. And so in the beginning, it was a little rough. They had, a handful of nonprofits. They had to give away almost all the tickets to try to get people to show up. And then, fast forward to, let's say 2016, that's about when I got involved on the board. We introduced some new activities, started raising a couple $100,000. It turned into a 4-day event. And it really continued to grow each year until 2017, through 2017. And about that time, they decided to kind of outgrown the facility and kind of outgrown the creators' willingness to continue to grow it and take it to the next level. And so I think a lot of people assumed that my wife and I were going to take it on, but we had moved out of the area. I'd moved away. I was working in Boise at the time, and we got an announcement that there was a press release saying the festival was going to be canceled, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I mean, we were we were kind of devastated to hear the news, to be honest. We got about 4 phone calls from people saying, hey, did you hear this? Did you hear this? Well, we're in Boise. And Deborah and I kind of slept on it. We talked about it and slept on it. And the next morning we called and talked to Ken Ashley, who was the creator, and said, hey, we're not in the area, but we would come back to the area if we can keep this thing going. And so he said, man, that would be great. He said, I would feel confident handing this over to you because you've been involved. You've been, part of this event. And so that's what we did. I had to find a new job that would
so you guys
pay
moved.
the bills. Yeah, we moved. We packed up. I gave my notice in Boise. We came back to Twin Falls. We had no home for the event. I mean, we were behind the 8 ball because a lot of things were normally done by then. And really, it was really a catch-up game, the entire event. We were
not only just doing that, but moving yourself in your
Yeah, we had to move back. Fortunately, we had a place here still. We've got a townhouse here that we have on Airbnb, and so we were able to move back and live in one of those units until we kind of got settled and just launched right into the festival. And as luck would have it, there's a lot of serendipity, but our title sponsor, Farmers Bank, who's been part of that event from the beginning, had a customer that came in, newly relocated from Southern California, and they said, we've heard that this Festival of Giving needs a place to host it, and we have a facility. We'd like you to, come and take a look. And who we talked to, and Ann Lively at Farmers Bank. She's one of the family of farmers, and she reached out to us and said, yes, I know, Mark and Deborah are doing that. And we went out and looked at the facility, and it was perfect. And that's what we now know as Fleur de Lis Ranch. And we held our 2018 Festival of Giving there. And it was bigger and I think better than we've ever done it before. Record attendance and record proceeds for the nonprofits. So
that's amazing. Yeah. So how many nonprofits are served, through that event?
Yeah, so I say 30 plus last year, and the plus, there's 30 that are they have contracts, they participate in the event, and they directly receive proceeds. The plus comes in where last year at our general exhibition we collected truckloads of food. Wow. As admission. You can pay $1 or donated food item or a new unwrapped toy. And so there was about 6 food banks that benefited from that were not part of the quote unquote cash proceeds nonprofits. And then also the Toys for Tots program received the new unwrapped toys. So all in all, there's probably close to 40 nonprofits that benefit from the Festival of Giving.
That's awesome. And then all the ripple effect of that, all those people that are served by all those nonprofits, all of those kids who now have presents at Christmas time, all the people who have food on their table for Christmas. And I think that's just such an amazing impact that you have on the community in doing that.
Thank you. It's one of my favorite things about it. I have one thing I learned about me pretty early is that I have to have an outlet for service. If I don't, I'm not myself. I get grumpy. And so I have to release all this energy, creative energy that I have inside, and giving back is one of the ways I do that. And, the cool thing about Festival of Giving is it's timed intentionally right before, the weekend before Thanksgiving is when it always happens. And so, Thanksgiving really kind of kicks off the holiday season, and all those nonprofits get an inflow of cash when they need it the most, when it gets cold and people are trying to put, extra holiday dinners on the table and buy gifts for the kids and things. So it really is, it's intrinsically rewarding.
Yeah. No, and I'm glad you mentioned that about how you have to have an outlet for service to just feel good. And there's so much negative news. Things are just happening in the world. And I think we're inundated with all the bad that's happening in the world. And I think for me, I've been thinking about how can I do more and selfishly feel better about myself and the world and things that are going on in the world. And I think service is such a great way to do that. And I think it's a fantastic thing for other people to get involved in too, whether it's their local charities or events like Festival of Giving and things like that, to just put more good out there in the world.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, someone told me, and I don't have the quote perfectly, but if there's any part of your life that you're not happy with, provide more service in that area, and you'll rapidly see the changes. If it's a relationship, provide more service to that person. If it's your job, provide more service, do more. If it's, a lack of involvement in the community, volunteer, get out there and serve the community. And people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So that's really awesome. So in the Festival of Giving isn't the only thing you're involved in the community. You're also a part of the United Way. I am. About 5 years I've been part of the United Way of South Central Idaho. I'm actually in my third year as the chairman of the board. And as much as I love Festival of Giving and the impact that it has, we're actually working on some things with the United Way that we planted the seeds about 3 years ago. As a board, we decided we're going to change our direction. We didn't want to just be a pass-through organization that was kind of a middleman, using the United Way name and brand and scope to receive funds from large corporations that wanted a single place so that they could impact the community. We wanted to be the captain of our ship. We wanted to affect some of that change that we want to see. And so we've really put some programs into place that are focused on early childhood education, and with our Ready for Kindergarten program, which is big, and then also with a community school program. And I believe that program, if it continues to grow and flourish, it could be a 10, 20, 30-year program that could have generational change in our community.
So tell me about the community school program. What is that going to look like?
Yeah, so it's modeled after the United Way of Salt Lake is kind of the gold standard for United Ways worldwide. And they've had this, they're about 10 years, maybe 12 at this point. I think it was 10 when we started. So it's probably 12 or 13 years down the road with this community school program. And it's basically schools with government and with business and professional, all working together to achieve the same goals. And there's the city of South Salt Lake was one of the pilot programs for them, and they had there was really a transient community. People would come there and they'd be there for less than a year, and then they were off. And they had a lot of migrants and refugees there, and their suicide rate was the highest in the nation.
Oh my gosh!
Their high school dropout rate was the highest in the state of Utah. Rampant crime, especially juvenile crime. And once the city and the schools and the business community started working together, they started solving problems together. When they'd run into an obstacle, they had all of the players at the table that could solve that problem. And they were all aware. It increased awareness, increased communication, and they're able to solve problems. And in a matter of 4 or 5 years, they now have dramatically changed those numbers. Not just the high school graduation rates, which everyone focuses on, but when you're reducing suicide rates in the community and, people planting routes and, working with some business people that were kind of considered slumlords and didn't care, getting them to buy into the vision. And now they've got long-term tenants and people that are now wanting to not leave because the schools are flourishing and they're learning English in the school maybe for the first time as a parent. And they're just helping them in so many different levels that it becomes a community. It's really about building community is what it is. That's why it's community school. So that's what we're trying to implement. And we just started with the Jerome School District because we had when we started our Ready for Kindergarten program, that's where we had to start because we had a federal grant. And in that process, we developed some relationships with that school district. And so we wanted to take it to the next level with the community school. We already had those relationships, so we started with them. They were willing, and we're about 2 years in now where we've had a monthly meeting with a great big boardroom table type atmosphere, and we listen to the school. What do you need? And we've solved a lot of food insecurities already. We've brought the Idaho Food Bank to the table, the local food banks to the table, did training on how their programs are supposed to work. And some of them had gotten off track and people were confused. And again, by having everyone at the table that has the answers, we're able to streamline that, increase communication. Cliff Bar stepped up. We've got Cliff Bars in the desks of counselors and school teachers, and when there's kids that are saying they're hungry and they haven't eaten yet today, they can get something in their tummy so they can focus on school. We've dealt with a lot of problems that aren't necessarily fun, like lice kits and things like that, which were epidemic at one point. We were pretty close. Yeah. And we were able to work with the community health to buy the kits for the school, get a donor from a local business and buy those in bulk and help out with the school to help, stop that problem before it got out of control. And it's amazing to me. It just is unbelievable to go in there and see what we can accomplish when everyone's working together. They say it takes a village to raise a child, and this program is what that's all about.
That's so amazing. Yeah. And I think I imagine that, for example, the school dealing with a lice outbreak and hungry students and all sorts of other, obstacles to educating students. And I think what a weight that probably lifts off those administrators and teachers and the students too, to know that they have resources to go to say, we need help with this. What can we figure out? I think that's amazing.
100%. And we have a what's called a community school coordinator who is a United Way employee, who's in that school 5 days a week in their elementary schools at this point. There's 2 of them, and they jump between there. But it's an extra set of eyes and hands and someone that the principal, because the principals and teachers are already overworked. They've been dipping into their own pockets to buy rulers and pencils and glue for years, right? So we want to take that burden off of them, let them focus on what they're trained to do and what they have passion to do, and let us go out and find those resources. And we brought the YMCA in to do an after-school program. They've never had that in Jerome. So lots of wins already for a short time. We need more partners. We need to just continue those monthly meetings, and anyone that wants to be a part of it is welcome to come and join us and see what we're doing there. So
that's awesome. That's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
So I want to switch gears a little bit and go back to when you're talking about spending summers in Idaho. Tell me what that was like as a kid, spending your summers up here in Idaho. What'd you get up to besides busting your chin?
It was the coolest thing ever. I had kind of the best of both worlds, and I think I still have that now. I've kind of patterned my life after it, but I had the city-ish where I went to school. I kind of went to school in Davis County, which I discovered from your first podcast with Shane Cook that you spent some time in Bountiful. And
I did.
Knew Shane was a Davis Dart and grew up in Kaysville, but that's all the same county. So the 3 of us have Davis County, Utah.
We've crisscrossed in different paths and ended up in the same spot.
Yeah, we have. And so I got to spend, do my schooling there and have that experience, just a bedroom community for Salt Lake. And then got to spend all my summers in this beautiful Idaho on the ranch, moving wheel lines and hand lines and, ditch irrigation and moving cows and cutting and raking hay and all those things that go, shooting rock chucks. Just a full ultimate kid on a ranch experience. It was magical.
Fairfield is beautiful, and it's one of those places you had to make a point to go to, but I think everyone should go up there at some point because it's really beautiful, and it's a cute little town, and the drive there is gorgeous. And
it's a high mountain prairie that is just, it has a special place in my heart. It's what I consider home. I have a cabin there that I've had for over 20 years. At one point it was a primary residence. And now I consider it my primary residence, but it's been a second home at one point, and but I love it. I love it. That's my happy place.
Yeah. So when you're up there, what do you like to get up to these days?
So I like to consider myself a logger. I love the chainsaw. I love to cut dead timber and cut firewood. Because, so I love that.
Most people look at that as a chore, but you're like, let me go out.
It is. I mean, it's work for sure, but for me, it's rewarding work. It can be dangerous. I've had a couple close calls. I wear the safety gear. I wear the shaps and the wrist guards and eye and face protection and that stuff. So I have some experience in it, but you can never take a tree for granted because a wind can blow and they can come back at you. But I love that. I love to. I've got a little chunk of ground up there that I started out as a weed infested, overgrown, just home in this rough sagebrush overgrown area. And over the past 20 years, I've built something pretty cool. I've got a nice half of my property is covered in trees, and I've got a great little place to go and hang out and have a bonfire in the trees, and it's a lot cooler in there. And we've turned the sagebrush into an open green grass field that I build a Field of Dreams on every year. We play kickball. We have a tournament. Oh,
fun! Really?
Yeah. So I love it. I love to work in my yard. Grew up obviously hunting and fishing and hiking, riding motorcycles, all those types of things. But a lot of my free time now is whittling away on my own land, which to me is still the American dream. To have a piece of dirt that you can decide what you want to do with it and turn it into whatever you want to. So
that's awesome. Yeah. Those kickball tournaments sound like a good time.
They are. They're a great time. We'll have to have you come up and experience that. I
have like flashbacks to grade school kickball, and I was always the smallest one, like not even just in my grade, but like the whole school. And so when it was my turn to kick, everyone would come up super close to me. And so I don't know if anyone wants me on their team.
They would. And we're about, I think this year was our 7th annual. It started as a 40th birthday party for me. We've turned it into an annual event. 2 years ago, we got married during this.
Oh, wow.
And so it's kind of cool. We've had some people that have come every year and others that, come every 3rd or 4th year. But we continue to have it. And the kickball game has evolved. Talk about my land. It evolved from literally the first year. The rule was in between innings, you had to pick up 2 sticks and bring them in and put them on the wheelbarrow. And so I got all these people that came to my party to help clear the field of these, sagebrush things that had been, beat off by a sagebrush beater. But now it's turning into a pretty lush green field. But this year's game was kind of interesting. We picked captains, and it ended up being the youth against the old people. So we had anyone from 5 years old up to 65 years old playing kickball, and the old age and treachery won. Yeah.
I wasn't sure which way I was going to go there.
It was in doubt in the first inning, and we had to kind of get together and say, hey, these kids are going to beat us if we don't change our strategy. And so our old age and treachery, we outwitted them. But I don't know if we'll get away with that next year.
Yeah,
they picked up on our tactics by about the time the game was over.
They'll have it in for you next time.
Yeah, that's part of that tribal knowledge, though, where the adults pass their wisdom on to the youth, right?
Exactly.
So, next year they'll be using our stuff against us, I'm sure.
So you came back to Twin Falls about 2 years ago now?
Yep.
So tell me what you've been up to lately, or you've got some new things that you've been doing.
I do. We're always up for an adventure. Deborah and I were, at the end of the festival last year, I was looking for something new to do for employment, and one of my neighbors up in Fairfield, his second home is Jim Paxson, owns Snake River Pool and Spa here in town, And we kind of had a couple conversations, and he knew I was looking for something. And so he pitched me on the idea of partnering with him, being a managing partner on the Blue Lakes Inn, which is a hotel here in town and pretty centrally located. And so we went back and forth for probably a month, and then reached an agreement in March and hit the ground running and opened the hotel in April. And April, May, and June have just been a blur.
Yeah.
I mean, the hotel business is all consuming.
And especially summertime and busy season. And you guys have been doing some updates and stuff to the rooms, right?
Yeah, all of March and April was a lot of updates. We did a lot of upgrades in the room, painted, every room got some paint. Some of them it was a full paint job. Others was just an accent wall. Some new decor, pillows, and things like that. We've got some new blackout blinds that we're really excited about. It's a huge upgrade. We painted the entire exterior, planted a bunch of flowers. And
it looks really nice.
Thank you. It's been a passion project. There's a lot more things I would like to do with it. But yeah, we're in peak season and
and some of the rooms have some neat features, right, that you don't normally get in a hotel.
Thank you for asking that. We're not just a cookie cutter. Every room's the same. We have 21 rooms. Many of those are suites, and at least 13 of those 21 are 100% unique, totally different. And we have a suite that has a sauna in it.
Which I feel like it would be so luxurious, like in the wintertime, you get done doing whatever, hiking up in the South Hills, and then go in and have a little sauna or something. Yeah. That sounds nice.
I like the way you think. And then we have a room that has a jetted tub, and that's a cool suite. We have multiple rooms with kitchenettes. We have a bunk bed room.
Ooh, fun.
Kind of unique. Yeah. And we get some families that come in and with 2 full beds and then a twin over the top. It has 4 beds and sleeps 6. So that's a lot of humans in one room.
Well, that'd be nice because most hotel rooms, they have like 1 king or 2 queens, and if you got a family with 2 or 3 kids, you're like, well, where do we put everybody? And having bunk beds, like kids love bunk beds. I think that'd make for a fun trip for the family.
And everyone's intrigued by it. Whether they walk by and look in the room or whatever, everyone's like, wow, bunk beds.
I love bunk beds.
Something about bunk beds and tree forts, right?
Yeah.
Everyone loves them.
Yeah. Awesome. So busy season. So you guys are just crazy full and lots of visitors from all over the place.
I'm not sure when this podcast will air, but right now we're in mid July and just came off of about 5 days sold out around the 4th of July. And we got a little bit of a break on Sunday and Monday, and now we're right back into sold out.
Yeah.
There's been lots of things I've learned about the hospitality industry and about the tourism industry. It's been really great. There's been a lot of press about new hotels in Twin Falls and do we need them or whatever. In the summer, we absolutely do. So since we opened in April, we've had probably 15 days where you could not find a room in Twin Falls anywhere. I mean, we were sending people to Jerome and to Burley and sometimes even as far away as Mountain Home and Boise.
Oh, wow.
So if you know about the geography of our area, that's a long ways to push people out where there's no rooms available.
And so I think when I got here a couple of years ago, people were saying how Twin Falls is starting to become a destination. We used to be a pass through to like Sun Valley or to Yellowstone, but now people are coming here. Yeah. So now that you've had a few months of talking to visitors that are coming here, what are people doing here? Is there any commonalities, or everyone's just here for different reasons, or?
You know what? There's a lot of events that are happening, which are the root cause of a lot of those. Probably 2/3 of those days where you can't find a room in Twin Falls, it's because there's a soccer tournament or an FFA event or something like that.
Yeah.
But the others, there's a lot of people. Economic development and Southern Idaho tourism have done a great job of promoting our area. The bridge, we've got the base jumpers that come from all over the world to jump off the Prime Ridge. The Snake River is a paradise. You get down to that canyon, you feel like you're in a whole other world, and it's so peaceful, and there's all this buzz of activity happening up 486 feet above that you don't even know is there once you get down to that oasis. Shoshone Falls is a destination not to be missed when you come through here. One of the greatest things about the hotel is being an ambassador for our city and telling people about Shoshone Falls and about City of Rocks and Balance Rock, and a lot of these things you've covered on your podcast, but people are coming from all over the world to see these things. And we've experienced that. Guests from Australia and from all over Asia.
Oh, wow.
Canada, you name it. We've got people coming to Twin Falls to see these things.
That's awesome. So do people have any first impressions when they come in? I imagine if they're coming in from the interstate and driving over the bridge, that's a big first, whoa, look at the canyon. That's a pretty shocking, I think, first thing. But do any other first impressions people have that have stood out if they've been coming here for the first time?
Well, probably the biggest one that jumps to my mind is people are blown away that you can't find a room in Twin Falls because that has changed dramatically. I mean,
that surprises me.
Yeah, lots of people used to just say, reservations? Why do we need a reservation in Twin Falls? Well, if it's a Wednesday night, you better have a reservation in Twin Falls, the business travelers. And if it's a special event, you better have a reservation or you're not going to get a room. So that's probably the one that, as a person running a hotel, that has been the biggest shock. And then obviously everyone that I send to Shoshone Falls is absolutely blown away, especially if they were here just passing through and had no idea. And I said, I look them straight in the eye and I say, seriously, do not leave. You're 2 miles at my hotel. You're 2 miles from Shoshone Falls, which is the Niagara of the West. Yeah. And I said, it would be criminal for you to leave and not take, 15 to 20 minutes to go see that. So.
Well, and it's one of those things, I didn't even know it was here. I lived in Pocatello for years, had been in Idaho for a long time. I knew the canyon was here, but I didn't know Shoshone Falls was there. And I think it was just I don't know why I didn't know. And so when I got here and saw it, I was like, why doesn't everybody know about Shoshone Falls? And so it's pretty amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. It's pretty special. And really, Idaho in general has all these secrets. Yeah. These little amazing places to go and see and do. And I think that's, it's a geological wonder with the hot springs and, the lava tubes and ice caves. Who would think ice caves? You go out there and look
out in the desert. Yeah.
More than just the desert, the hot molten lava. Yeah. And you have these ice caves where it's, 32 degrees year round or right there close. And it's just amazing. You can go from 110 degrees on the surface. It feels like you're on the surface of the sun. Yeah. Go down in there and it's a nice, cool. Yeah.
It's an interesting place. So that's a good way for us to segue into your favorite places, your favorite spots, your secret spots.
Yeah. So, we've talked about some of them. I think I'm a big guy, so food is something that I'm kind of big on. I've got my favorites in Twin Falls. I like breakfast. My dad used to call me the breakfast kid because it was my favorite meal of the day. But my two favorite breakfast spots in Twin Falls are the Buffalo Cafe, little hole in the wall.
But it's always busy. I went there for breakfast once, and there was a line out the door.
It's always busy. You have to be prepared for that. You have to want to go there and have an experience. I mean, and it's just this feels like you're rolling into an old Western town, and you got to hitch your horse to the hitching post and
they probably wouldn't mind if you did.
No, and that's why I love it. That's the beauty of the place. And then, just a block away from there, the Depot Grill does an awesome job. I mean, you get a huge breakfast that even for a big guy, it's tough to eat that, So I love those places. I'm a huge fan of what Shane Cook has done. Podcast number 1, obviously, kick this thing off for you. And it's a great podcast for people that haven't listened to it. Go find it. But he started with the Sandwich Company, which is still my number one, still my go-to in Twin Falls. And then this past year, he's opened Kodo Brewery. And that place is unbelievable.
Yeah.
The atmosphere, and just to have that type of kind of shift in, nightlife and that kind of venue in Twin Falls is some of the things that are happening here that will really accelerate our growth and make people want to be here and live here.
I was really surprised by the diversity of the food on the menu at Kodo Brewing. Like, lots of vegetarian options. There's the broccoli tacos, which sound weird, but they are so good.
They are. And
they had jackfruit tostadas that I had there last night, which were super good, and all sorts of different beers and ciders. And
their menu has got something for everyone, and it's full of surprises. It's all fresh, local. It's not cookie cutter. It's unique blends of flavors. They do a lot of caramelized onions and different things in their dishes that are just, you'll have these flavor sensations that your brain goes, whoa, what was that? That was good. That's not something I get at a fast food or chain restaurant. So,
yeah.
I love what Shane's doing. I love Thai food, and I'm a big fan of Taste of Thai. I don't know if you've been there. Have you been?
I have,
Taste of Thai? It's right over by Costco, but I love the little husband and wife that run that place.
Yeah.
I try to convince him that I'm his number one customer.
I'm sure you are.
He takes good care of me every time I go in there, so I love that. And then, kind of growing up in Fairfield and graduating from Camas County High School, I got to travel to all these little communities. I played 8-man football and in the North Side Conference and got to travel to these little towns. And there's so many.
How was that transition from going to a bigger school to such a small school?
I thought it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I guess there's two ways those transitions normally happen. It's by choice and not by choice. And I think the people that say it's not by choice would probably have a different perspective than me.
Yeah.
But for me, it was by choice. My senior year, my mom got remarried, and I wanted to live with my dad for a year, and I built a lot of friends over spending every summer in Fairfield. I had a lot of friends and wanted to experience that small town life. And for me, I would choose a big fish in a little pond or a little fish in a big pond every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to play high school sports that I wouldn't have played otherwise, just because where I grew up, you had to be specialized. I mean, I played soccer from the time I was 5 years old, played year-round tournaments, indoor, outdoor, and, we won a state championship in Salt Lake, and that was my deal. But when I moved to the small town Idaho, I mean, you were a football player, whether you wanted to be or not, and I obviously wanted to be. But
I'm sure they were excited about having you too, because you are a big guy, and so they're like, "Yes." Yeah,
I did get most of my size after, but still, I was one of the bigger, even at that time.
Yeah.
But play basketball and track, and you just have to do that in order for, again, to have a team or people to practice against. And
I think it's interesting. So I grew up in a small town and then moved to Pocatello, which was huge compared to the town I had grew up in. And in that small town, it was just the same. Like, everyone played sports, everyone was in the marching band, and it was kind of a stark. So when you'd play football, and then the captain of the football team, who's also the homecoming king, gets out and marches in the marching band.
Yeah.
Like, normally, that wouldn't have happened. Normally in a bigger school, they're like, no, you can't stop playing football to go be in the marching band. But everyone did it. And I think everyone got to do lots of more things and have a more rich experience. But when you go to a bigger school, you may not be able to play football because it's a bigger school, or you may not be able to do as many different things. And I think there's some nice things about growing up in a small town and going to a small school, and there's some advantages there.
Absolutely, 100% agree. I mean, advantage. And you gave me a great visual. I actually was homecoming king.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, and we, at halftime, we would take one team would run to the right and the other team would run to the left under a shade tree, and we'd circle up and listen to coach, But on homecoming day, the homecoming royalty had to get up out of, the halftime pep talk and walk out onto the field and stand in the procession line and take the pictures and then get on the trucks and ride around the field while people wave to you. And just so cool.
Yeah.
So cool. And then run back out there. And then because it's 8-man football.
They can't be down with one guy.
Yeah. There's no offense and defense and special teams. That's all the same person. So they call it Ironman football because you never get to come off the field.
Yeah. Except for when you're homecoming king.
That's it. That's the one break you get.
Yeah.
So, but, that experience really helped to shape my life. I actually came back and was a high school basketball coach in that conference for 3 years. And we won our first JV championship in 25 years when I was coaching, and that was kind of fun to see our kids grasp onto what we were teaching them and implement them and call play and have them execute it from, especially the ones that can't dribble on day one. And by the time you get into the end of the season and maybe in the middle of the next season, they're running plays for you, and it's fun. It's cool. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some more. I think there were a few other events I wanted to talk to you about that I know are super cool. That you're a fan of, like the Gooding Rodeo. So tell me about the Gooding Rodeo.
Yeah. So talking about secrets, there's a couple of secrets out there that I think I haven't heard them on the podcast, but for me are not to be missed events that happen every year. And the first one coming up is Saturday of the Camas County Fair. Okay. So the Camas County Fair is always the first weekend in August. It doesn't matter, that first Saturday, if it's the 7th or the 1st, that's when it is. So this year I think it falls on the 3rd. But the Saturday of the Camas County Fair is cool. It starts out with a parade that is so big that it goes down the street, turns around, and comes back. You get to see the right side of the parade and then the left side of the parade.
Small town.
Yeah, small town. And if it wasn't for the Forest Service and other people jumping in there, it'd be a really small parade. But it's cool. It's the only parade that I know that you get to see twice. Yeah. And then there's an event that they've put in probably 5 years ago. It's bull riding on Main Street.
I've heard that's wild. It's a wild time.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Whether you are a fan of bull riding or rodeo or not, it's just something about right there on this little teeny town on Main Street. They set up an arena, and it's the size of this office that we're in.
Which, if you can't see it, it's small.
Yeah. These bull riders are coming out of the chute into a, 15 by 15 box, a 2,000 pound animal, and there's not a whole lot of room to get away, and it makes for some interesting collisions, and it's interesting for sure. Yeah, definitely got to be part of that. And then as soon as that's over, it transitions into a street dance. They put a trailer across Main Street and turns into a street dance where everyone kind of socializes and dances and listens to music. And so that's been a part of my life since I was 8 years old. That's just a do not miss that Saturday, first Saturday in August. Yeah. And then the other one that you mentioned is the Gooding County Rodeo. That is an incredible event. They've really ramped that up and made it a rodeo that's not to be missed. It's action-packed. A lot of people say, I don't like rodeo. You've got all this downtime in between, riders or in between events. Not at the Gooding County Rodeo. It is one after the other, action-packed with live rock and roll music. It feels like the NFR, which I've been to the NFR. And they've kind of patterned it after that. They get the best rodeo clowns that are in the business there every year.
The Gooding Rodeo is one of the best ranked ones in the country.
It is.
Yeah.
Yep. It's been rising through the ranks, and just is a cool rodeo to go see. If you've never been to a rodeo, or if you've had a bad experience, go see the Gooding Rodeo and then tell me what you think about rodeo, because there's no downtime. I mean, start to finish, it's an hour and a half of nonstop action.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
It is
when is the Gooding Rodeo?
That's August 15th through the 17th, I believe, this year.
August is an exciting time of year in Idaho because you've got all these rodeos, you've got a lot of fairs coming up. There's just a lot of events to check out and have a good time.
There's so many good ones. Obviously I could talk about the Twin Falls and Jerome and a lot of these bigger cities that get a lot of attention and have fancy booklets. But these two that I highlight here are as good as any event you'll go to at any rodeo in Idaho or any county fair in Idaho. So mark those down in your book and feel free to reach out to me at the Blue Lakes if you think I gave you a bad tip, but I don't think you will.
No, I think they'll have a good time. Last thing I wanted to talk to you about is the Magic Valley Chamber Leadership, which is where we met. And I think it's such a great thing to get involved in. It's actually my third leadership program that I've done. I did one in Oregon, I did one in Pocatello, and I did this one here. And I think as far as things to recommend for people if you're new in a community or even if you've been there for a long time but just want to get to know your community better, it is such a good way to learn so much, meet really cool people, make new friendships. And so I'm going to have you tell a little bit about your experience in leadership because you're one of our session planners and co-chairs for next year. So I
am, and I could not give a stronger endorsement for that program than I can. The Twin Falls Leadership Program is probably 35 plus years, I believe it is. And whether you've lived here a year or 50 years, you're going to see things that you would never see otherwise. Whether that's, touring manufacturing plants from Falls Brand and Lamb Weston, doing simulators for driving police cars or, seeing the bomb squad demonstrations, to going to the maximum security prison in Boise, touring the state capitol, all these things that you would just, you would never do them in a year on your own, but with the Chamber Leadership Program you get to, and there's a lot of being there for 35 years, all of the big players in the community send their up-and-coming leaders every year, and a lot of the newer blood and new companies that are coming into town are finding out about it and sending their people, so it's this great blend. I consider myself someone that's pretty active in the Twin Falls Chamber, but when I got to leadership, I think there was maybe 35 to 38 of us in our group, and I think there was only 3 people that I had even met. And so I which blows my mind because you know everybody. I know a lot of people, and people commented all the time, man, you know everyone, and it's because I'm active in the chamber and then, the Festival of Giving, but again, to see all these new leaders that I have never come across and to get to spend a year with them, one day every month. That's how it works. You dedicate one day, and it's an action-packed day. It starts early in the morning and goes till 4:30 or 5 o'clock. I'm always tired at the end of the day. I'm exhausted mentally. To try to stay on focus and learn that much, absorb that much information and meet that many new people. And it's I look forward to it every single day. I didn't miss a single event this past year, and I'm really looking forward to doing it again next year and helping some people that are new and maybe don't know Twin Falls, see things through my eyes, and I want to see it through theirs as well. So it's going to be a neat experience. I recommend anyone that's interested to reach out to the chamber. We're planning next year's series now, and I know they've still got a few spots. It's like $1,000 commitment plus 10 days of your work life. Yeah. So your employer better be on board. Yeah, you should get permission first because you will be out one day a month. Get permission, and it's a neat program. I'm sure that from our class, we've got lifetime friendships that have been made. Yeah, so there have been for sure. And for the folks that are interested in the Mini-Cassia area, they have a leadership program too. And a lot of chambers across the country have leadership programs. So
I would recommend just anywhere you are, if you're wanting to get more involved in your community, find ways to give back. Because we have in the Twin Falls one, there's a service day that was really great because you got to learn about nonprofits in the community that are doing good. And there was the city government day. We meet the fire department and the police department and all the people who are working hard in your community. And I think it was a really cool program.
Yeah, that's right. We got to put the fire department. We got to put on all the gear, all the turnouts and boots and helmet and respirators.
Yeah.
Go into a smoke-filled room.
That was crazy.
Around with an axe in your hand.
Yeah.
And find a dummy simulator and drag him out to safety. I mean, woo.
It gave me a real appreciation. Like, I knew being a fireman was hard, dangerous work, but just crawling on the ground with my axe and all the gear was hard. I was so tired, and you couldn't see, and it was all that smoke. And then I had to drag that body out, and I was like, it's going to be me or them. I can't get both of us. Right. It was hard. It gives you a real appreciation for all the people who are, putting themselves on the line in your community to take care of you.
Yeah, they tried to simulate as much as possible, but we knew we were safe. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. And so you imagine with the heat element that we didn't have.
Yeah, we didn't have that
environment, and then smoke that could kill you rather than just the
smoke machine
smoke machine with the mineral oil. Yeah. But it's gives you a great appreciation for what those guys do, and we certainly support them, and we need to get them some new firehouses here.
Yes, we do. That is next on the list. Anything I haven't talked to you about? You're so involved in the community. I'm sure there's lots of things that people should know about the area that I haven't asked you about.
I think we've covered a lot of it. I would maybe... We kind of took a sidebar there, but I did have a couple more hidden gems in the restaurant. If I could circle back to some of the hidden gems for restaurants. We talked about Twin Falls, and we left off at Thai food, but the community of Bliss has a restaurant called the Oxbow Cafe that if you're traveling between Twin Falls and Boise, it's worthy of a stop. Yeah. If you like burgers and fries and kind of diner food, definitely try the Oxbow. Of course, I'm from Fairfield, so the Wrangler is high on my list. I mean, they're on July 15th. They'll be featured in diners, drive-ins, and dives. Oh. Yeah, it's already in the can, and that's when it's going to run, is July 15th. So look for that. The Wrangler in Fairfield is amazing. In Hagerman, I'm a huge fan of Fire Pie Pizza.
Oh, I haven't been there.
Ooh, you got to have Fire Pie Pizza. It's got the big brick oven that's on a trailer, and they make these little pizzas. And I actually first saw them at a Chamber of Commerce Business After Hours and loved it so much. We actually had them cater the evening part of our wedding when we had a live band. And man,
that sounds like so much kickball pizza.
Yes. And we had our wedding party, and they said, we've got a minimum of like a 300 pizza order. I'm like, we'll do it. Like, there's no way you'll do that for your wedding party. Well, we did. Yeah. And our people just loved it. Yeah. They're dancing and trying to get their second win and get them through the night. The Fire Pie Pizza pulled us through. In Jerome, I love Choette's.
I haven't been to Choette's yet.
Choette's, you got to go there. Yeah. Great, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Yeah. Again, I love the diner feel. You probably see a theme in the stuff that I'm talking about. The snack bar in Shoshone. Have you been there?
I have not been, but some of the folks in the office have been, and said it's really good.
You got to go when you go through Shoshone. It's just a little hole-in-the-wall shack that has shakes and burgers and fries.
I love a good milkshake.
Yep. And then... in Burley, there's a couple of gems in Burley. Have you been to Steve-O's?
Yes, they're really good.
Oh my gosh, Steve-O's is not to be missed. And then on the other side of town, Taco Bandito.
I've not been to Taco Bandito.
You got to go to Taco Bandito. Yeah. Yeah, and get the taco salad, and you'll be glad you did.
Yeah, that sounds like I've got stops all over the area now I can go to.
Yeah, I just hit every little hole in the wall that I could think of that should not be missed. So add those to your list.
Any outdoor secret spots that we didn't talk about? I know we talked about like Shoshone Falls and the ice caves.
Soldier Mountain Ski Resort is something that I'm being a little bit of a homer there because I live probably a mile and a half from there, but if you're an outdoor recreator, that's a great place to mountain bike. In the winter, it's one of the coolest ski resorts around. It just has a hometown feel. You can snowboard, you can ski fairly inexpensively. Most of the people in Southern Idaho that learned to ski learned at Soldier Mountain, because
really?
they had a really great school program where all the schools would bus people up there for a day and have lessons. And so a lot of people in Southern Idaho learned to ski at Soldier, and so they've kind of got a heart and a passion for it.
Yeah.
It could be a little hit or miss depending on the snow season, how much snow they get, because they're reliant upon Mother Nature.
Yeah.
But when there's snow there's not a better place to ski, in my opinion. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, give a plug to them.
Yeah, well, I think we've got things for people to do all year long. So skiing and mountain biking and base jumping if they're so inclined. And
the other thing that my wife and I love to do is we have a little side-by-side pedal boat.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's got the little paddle.
Really?
Like an old-time steam wheel, right? But you pedal it. Like you see it.
That sounds really fun.
Lagoon or something. We have one of those.
Oh, cool.
And we take it down the canyon and put it on the river.
Really?
Yeah. We jump in and on the boat with some sandwiches and some.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Soft drinks, and she'll put a couple cocktails in there, and we'll pedal our way up the canyon to under the bridge and watch the base jumpers jump off.
I love pedal boats. I haven't seen one in ages.
Yeah, well, get a partner.
Yeah.
And, maybe your hubby or a girlfriend or something, and I'd be happy to let you borrow my boat for a day.
That's fun.
Pedal up to underneath the bridge, and if you've had this experience being down there, when the parachutes open in that canyon, it sounds like a gun's going off.
I've heard that.
Makes a pop when they open and catch wind,
Yeah.
And then they safely slide on down. But it's so cool to be down there when you...
It's just that we went kayaking a couple weeks ago, and there weren't any base jumpers that day, but it was just cool just being under there and just seeing, because you can see kind of the cars going back and forth on the bridge, and just the activity. And there were lots of people in the water that day. And but I want to be down there when there's a base jumper going up, because I think it sounds really cool to see them come down.
It adds to the experience. And obviously AWOL's done a great job down there with their canoes and paddle boards.
That's who we rented our paddle board from, and it was so easy, and they got us all set up, and it was really good. They've
been a great partner, referral partner for us at the Blue Lakes Inn, so we really like them. But there's, whether it's a planned or unplanned, you can go AWOL on a spur of the moment, spontaneous deal, rent a canoe, get a life jacket, and go spend an hour on the water. Just that's the other thing you got to do while you're here. Spend some time on the river.
For sure. So. Awesome. Mark, thank you so much for being on the show, and for all that you're doing in the community, and for making leadership so fun for us this last year, and for all you're doing for Festival of Giving, United Way, and all that fun stuff.
Thank you, Connie. It's been fun, and look forward to lots more fun times at different community events. We live in an amazing place. The people are very giving. It's an awesome community, and that's why we want to give back to it and spend our time building our businesses here. So
awesome. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Secrets Out Idaho. You can follow Southern Idaho Economic Development on social media, or visit southernidaho.org to learn more. Please take a moment to leave a rating and review, and subscribe so you can be the first to hear more Secrets Out Idaho. Until next time.